Howdy, folks. It's your boy here, and we are back. Got some more Fae content. Today's going to be a bit of a speculation video on what upcoming Echo skills are we going to see. Now, I've actually gone ahead and separated these into three separate categories. So the first category is going to be Echo skills that I would like to see right now. So skills that would be a very good and healthy upgrade to characters that are existing at the moment. The next tier we're going to look at is complete degeneracy, just like off the walls. Whatever Insys has planned for these is definitely not going to be good for us. So we have like the degenerate category. And then we're going to wrap up on the final category, which would be in between, like skills that I think would be good to see, but also could also end up being like unhealthy and abusable very easily. So we're going to just start by recapping here on the two Echo skills we've got. So Attack Oath Echo and Death Blow Echo. Now, what we've seen so far is that they're trying to nerf these compared to their actual passive skill versions. So Attack and Speed Oath 4 gives you Attack and Speed up 6 as a blue bonus at the start of turn if you're in 2 spaces of an ally. Then it also gives you the Warp Effect, and then it also gives you a in-combat drive to Attack and Speed up 3 if you're in 2 spaces of an ally. So they really catered this skill a little, or curated this skill a little bit downwards from Attack Speed Oath 4. So we're only getting one stat. We're only getting Attack up 6 at the start of the turn. We keep the Warp Effect, and we're losing the Drive in combat stats. So kind of a watered-down version of Attack and Speed Oath 4, but at the same time, they kept the primary goal of the skill, which was the Warping Effect. So I'm thinking most of these skills, they're going to keep the primary effect that's being granted, but then nerf maybe the stat portion in some way. As we see also with Death Blow, the actual Death Blow skill can give you as much as +8 if you've got level 4, or +6 for the level 3 passive. This one's only going up to 4, so they're definitely going to be nerfing stats on a lot of these skills, which I will account for. Okay, so the first skill we have here is Triangle Adept. I could imagine this easily being an Echo skill, and it would be a pretty interesting one, to be honest. Like, just giving you an advantage when you already have an advantage makes a lot of sense. I don't think they would need to nerf this any if it was going to be a Echo skill, because, like, as it is, it already balances itself. You get an advantage if you have color advantage. You get a disadvantage if you have color disadvantage. So it's, like, very matchup dependent. It would be pretty cool to see. I'm not sure like how popular it would be though, because of course you don't really want to hinder yourself in any round of combat. I'd rather just have a neutral matchup against everything than just have like one really good matchup and one really bad matchup. But I do think this is a possible Echo skill we could see. Then we have the Trace skills, both Far Trace and Near Trace. I could see these happening at some point. Just like getting Kanto out of your Echo skill would be pretty good. So like infantry units right now, they're getting access to Warp from Attack Oath Echo. So I could see the Trace Echo skills being just like free Kanto Rem for your flying and cavalry type units. So I would imagine this would happen, and they're probably going to nerf the stats from being like -3 to the foe to maybe being like -2. Any lower would be like -1 to attack and defense on the foe, or attack and speed, or whatever stat combo it would be pretty negligent. Like that doesn't even do anything. So I would imagine like maybe -2 at the worst, but the primary focus here would be to just get Kanto Rem for an Echo skill. Okay, we also have Bulwark here. Now this is where things get very interesting, because I actually think Bulwark is a really good skill right now as things stand. The only problem is the only way to get it is by running it in the B skill, and it's hard to justify using this over some of the more impactful B skills that we have. So the dodge level 4s, like Close Call 4, Spurn 4, things like that. Gambit 4, which is also really good. There's Guard Bearing 4 if you're a flying type unit. So bait units, which would want to be running Attack and Defense Bulwark or any stat combo Bulwark, actually have better options that they can go with. So that's the reason why this particular skill is not as high on the priority list as it should be. As an Echo skill, however, or even as a Sacred Seal, this skill shoots up in value like crazy. Because first of all, you're getting the insane obstruct effect that Gatekeeper has, where you're blocking out foes from being able to pass within any space adjacent to you, and then ranged enemies are getting it even worse, because they get obstructed by 2 spaces. And then it also has stat drops and it also has healing. So for this, I could imagine them just doing away with the stat drops entirely, just leaving the obstruct effect and the healing. Or maybe they'll leave the obstruct and the stat drops and take off the healing if this becomes an Echo skill. Either one would be fine, but this would be very interesting as an Echo skill. Okay, then we have the tempo skills. So tempo is also a really good effect, and it's a very rare effect at that, because not too many units are able to get tempo. But if you're able to get it, you can nullify guard and nullify enemy special acceleration. So this is a really huge game changer in a lot of matchups. But again, just like Bulwark, it's very hard to justify running this in the B slot. So I could imagine this being a Echo skill, and maybe they would just do away with the stat drops entirely and just keep the tempo portion where you nullify guard and nullify enemy acceleration. I think that would be pretty fair. Like, you don't even really care too much about the stat drops anyway with this skill. You really just want the tempo effect for the most part. Okay, Dazzling Staff and by extension Wrathful Staff would also be pretty good Echo skills because that would unlock the B skill for your staff type units. So they're no longer forced into running specifically Dazzling Staff or Wrathful Staff, and they're free to run some kind of other B skill that may be very useful for them. So like Wings of Mercy or Flow Desperation in the case of offensive staff units would be very interesting to see. So this would lighten the load for sure on staffs and give them a much-needed buff, I would say. Okay, we also have Disarm Trap. Now, this would be very healthy, I would say, because it just gives you access to disarming traps in 8th of Raids. At the moment, the current defenses that people are running are so heavily whaled up in terms of baiting and armored units and having, like, Medius on the team, so you can't even beat them with the Bolt Tower now. So, defense has finally gotten to the point now where I would feel pretty comfortable with this just being, even as a Sacred Seal, I feel like Disarm Trap would just be a good idea at this point. Like, why not? So, either as an Echo skill or a Seal, I don't really mind either one, but I think this would be a good idea. Okay, Hit and Run, as bland and boring as ever, this would low-key actually be a pretty solid Echo skill, just being able to get the hit and run. So you attack the enemy and you get out of the way. Obviously, B skills are way better than this, so you're never, ever, ever going to be able to justify having it. But as a Sacred Seal or as an Echo skill, a lot of these were bringing up, like, seals as well. Like, these could be possible seals, and they'd be helpful. But, yeah, for the most part, it's just getting the effect would be very good. So, Hit and Run, I think, would be one of the top priority. Well, maybe not top priority, but a high priority Echo skill. So, like, if you run your God Swords and they've got Gambit 4 and they've got, like, Close Call 4 or whatever. Well, Close Call would negate the need for this. So, more so on melee, like, Cavs and melee Flyers, where they can't run Close Call. They would just attack the foe and then get out of the way. This would be really good there. All right, Wind Sweep is up next. Obviously, still a very good player phase skill, just having Fire Sweep. It would have to be Wind Sweep and Water Sweep, I would say. Like, they can't just do Fire Sweep full on, because that would be a little too much. So, to make it more specified, Wind Sweep and Water Sweep as Echo skills, I think would be fair. So that way you're not always guaranteed to get it off. And then for how they would nerf this, probably keep the speed bonus here. Like, you see how level 3 on the passive requires you to just be 1 point faster? They would probably keep it like 3 points of speed faster than the foe to get the Fire Sweep effect. So I would imagine they would add like a more steep speed condition on the check for this as an Echo skill. Null Sea Disrupt. Okay, obviously this one is also a really good B skill. It's really rare. This effect is not common at all. There's not a lot of units that have Null Sea Disrupt. The only real way to get it is to just run it on the B skill, unless your name is Fiorm. So having this as an Echo skill would lighten the load a bit for your bait units, I think. Bait units really need a buff at the moment. The, like, offensive power creep is out of the, like, just through the roof. It's all the way in space, whereas the defensive power creep is moving at a snail's pace. So I would like to see this as an Echo skill, maybe even a seal too. Like, this would just be a good way to get some buffs to our bait units without having to give up the B skill to do it. Now, Null Sea 4 is actually a very good skill because it's still doing more things than just Null Sea. But still, I would say some of the better, more like crazier B skills like the dodge level 4s, guard bearing, gambit 4. Those are what you would rather go for in the B slot for a bait unit. Shield Pulse would be a very interesting one. Now, this as an Echo skill is actually kind of fire, because it doesn't seem like they ever plan to buff this. But if you were running this on a -1 cooldown weapon, that's just a pre-charged godlike reflexes. So, GLR being one of the better defensive-based specials for your infantry types would give a lot of value to this as an Echo skill. And again, it's playing up more bait strategies, which I think needs some help right now. Like, just going all in on offense is unfair. They got to give some love to defense, too. All right, Assault Troop would be a very, very healthy one, particularly for armored units that never want to run any C skill besides just save skills. So if you like running armored units, this would be the tits to just be able to give them Assault Troop as their Echo skill. I was very hopeful, actually, when we saw the trailer for Echo skills that you'd be able to give Attack Oath Echo to armored units, so they'd finally be able to get better mobility while not giving up the C skill. That wasn't the case, though. They kept the same passive restrictions on Oath Echo as they did for Attack and Speed Oath 4. So this would be really good, just an awesome buff for armor-type units, allowing them to move in and not have to worry about moving one space. This would also be good on everybody, because every movement type can get it, besides ranged weapon types. So, well, ranged and dragons and beasts, because they never get anything. But everybody would be able to eat well with this. Alright, then feud skills. Again, like Triangle Adept, these are self-balancing, where it's only really good against specific colors, but there are two colors that stand out. So Red Feud and Colorless Feud are the ones you would really want to go for, since all of the heaviest speed creep units are red, and then all of the craziest support units are colorless. So just being able to zone them out a bit with these are pretty good. And they would definitely cut the stat drops a little bit here. Maybe do like -2 or -3 instead of the full-on -4. And then keep the impenetrable dark effect where it nullifies the enemy skills that are out of combat. So that would be how they would balance this a little, I would say, as an Echo skill. Alright, then Beast Trace, or I didn't know exactly which one to bring up. Like, any of these beast skills that nullify the condition to transform would be very good. I don't know if they even need to have another effect other than that. Like, just having this as an Echo skill, just letting your beast characters transform so they can then run other beast skills instead of whatever they got. Like, Counter Roar shoots up in value like crazy if you're able to run that and then run this too. Because that's the one major advantage Beast Sense has over Counter Roar, is that it nullifies your condition to transform and then gives you the DR. Whereas Counter Roar gives you the DR, but then you still have to transform like regular. So this would be a really nice buff for Beast units and just give them some more tools in the shed. So I would like to see the Beast skills as Echo skills. Canto Control, a very, very powerful skill. Canto is like the most busted offensive thing right now. Well, is it more busted than Warping? I don't think so. But it's like the next best thing. This would be like number 2 on the totem pole of busted offensive skills. It's Warping and then it's Canto. So everyone wants to run Canto Control, but not everyone can run Canto Control, which is the issue. You got to run a specific Canto Control unit. That's not very fun. So, like, imagine having Echo Canto Control on a unit like Duo Asker, so you can keep open domain, and then he's also offering Canto Control support. That would just bust open teams, like bust open the door wide open for running different units and different options on your Summoner Duels comps and things like that. So I would love to see this as an Echo skill. Alright, then finally, Hardy Bearing. This wraps up like the first tier of things that I would imagine ending up being Echo skills. So this is a very rare effect. There's not a lot of units that do this, but it's very important. Especially now where we're getting a lot of characters coming out with instant like Vantage or having instant Desperation and things like that. So having a way to counter that is very good. Unfortunately, there's only one of this as a Sacred Seal and a very low amount of units in the game that actually have this built in. So this would be a pretty good Echo skill, I would say, and it would be very good against countering units like Fallen Byleth and also the Tea-Time Lysithea that just gets you with the Desperation, also Tea-Time Ira as well. So this would be a really nice buff for both offense and defense. So I think this would be good. Okay, we come to our first checkpoint here. This is going to be the next tier, and this is... I actually, like, disgusted myself with the amount of degeneracy I saw here. So be ready for some, like, doomsday announcements, I guess. Obviously, dual skills would be the worst thing to see in Echo skills, but considering that the dual 4s have been so score-crept at this point, and they always want to try to incentivize players to focus on scoring, and that's how they get a lot of money from arena mode. They want people to try to score higher, and they release all these power creep skills that let you do that. I would not be surprised one bit if we end up getting Echo dual skills, and they have a better BST than 180. So the level 3s were 170, and then the level 4s went up to 180. I would say, like, right now, they would probably have to be 195 for them to really compete, or 200 would be insane, but like 195 I think would be fair. That's like the previous tier of duo skill dual power-up. So, like, right now, the dual skills for duos are 200 BST. Before that, it was 195. I think that would probably be what they would do if they do Echo dual skills, but God, no, man. Don't do this. Insys, please, I'm begging you. And to nerf it, they would just take out the stats. Like, it would literally just be a scoring skill, or just leave HP up 5 and take out the all stats up 2. Something like that, I would imagine. Okay, Warp Bubble. Warp Bubble would actually be a really good thing, but at the same time, it would be a really bad thing. As an Echo skill in particular, I would say, because that would heavily incentivize spending money for an Echo skill. If this became an Echo skill, so many people would summon for this, because obviously Warp Bubble is one of the more powerful defensive effects, allowing you to turn off nonsense like Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance and what have you. So this would be one of the more valuable Echo skills that they could do right now, because of how rare this is. There's literally only 2 units in the game that offer this. So I would kind of want to see this just to, like, help balance the game a little, but maybe not an Echo skill is the way to go about it. Maybe as a Sacred Seal, I think actually this would be more interesting to me, because then everyone can use it and it would be more accessible. You kind of really just need to have this right now. If you don't have Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance, you got to be able to stop it. So there we go with that. Surveillance Shield. Oh boy. There is a very good reason why this has not been a Sacred Seal yet. And you can imagine why. So, nullifying effective against armor bonuses would be a massive buff to a lot of bait armors running save skills. Just being able to turn off their major weakness. Like, this would automatically give the biggest middle finger to Legendary Hinoka and a bunch of units that are reliant on their effective damage to deal with armor types. So, this would be really good for that. And I feel like this would be more annoying than good, though. So that's why I have this in here. They should just make this a Sacred Seal at this point first to test the waters. But that would also be more accessible. So for them to monetize it, I would imagine it just being a Echo skill first, so they could sell it. And then maybe later down the road, they would make it a Sacred Seal. Okay, pass. As we brought up Warp Bubble. Warp Bubble is, like, so valuable right now. I can't even tell you how much it is. So, what they would do is release Warp Bubble first as an Echo skill, and then later, once everyone is running Warp Bubble and they summoned for 1 billion copies of Warp Bubble Echo, they're going to release Pass Echo, so then you can counter the Warp Bubble and give this to all of your Flyers and Cavs and whatever. All your units that are warping in. Now just get Pass for free. This would also be annoying as hell in Aether Raid's defense, where sometimes the only way you can get the pots is by body blocking a range type. So, like, you just surround them with all your guys. If they have Pass Echo, they can just bypass that and get around you and still attack. So this would be a nightmare in Aether Raid's defense, like, for defense teams to have this. And then also in Summoner Duels, just to bypass Warp Bubble. This would be really, really unhealthy, I think. So, despite being as simple as ever, Pass is just literally Pass. This would not be a good idea. Alright, Wings of Mercy, again, not a good idea. Just warping is so busted. Being able to warp with everything now, like, this would just be dumb. So armor or dancing units, now they can have Wings of Mercy and they can still have Firestorm Dance 3 or Rock Slide Dance 3. No, dude, just no. Please. Insist, please. Alright, join drives. Now, I could see them doing this, actually. I don't think this is that outlandish. The problem is, it's a direct power creep to Deathblow Echo already. So this gives you the in-combat attack of 4. This would give you in-combat attack of 4, and your allies in 2 spaces in-combat attack of 4. So clearly, this would just be a power creep Deathblow Echo. But I could kind of see them doing this. Like, the one way they might nerf it is by lowering the stats. So it might do attack of 3 or attack of 2 instead of 4. But as soon as this comes out, like, Deathblow is just extinct. So, I don't know, man. This one, maybe not right now, but I could see this being a thing way off into the future. Give Deathblow a little bit of time to cook in the pot first. Alright, Phantom Speed. Oh my god. Do you want units to just be getting 10 free speed on any speed check? No, you don't. Trust me, you don't. Phantom Speed, Phantom Res, like all of the Phantom Seals, which we don't even have all of them. We only have Speed and Res, because those are the 2 most common stats used for a check. So, like, these as Echo skills would be insane. They're probably not going to do the full plus 10. It would probably be like 7 or maybe 8. I don't know if they would do 8, but, like, just compare it to Deathblow Echo again, which is giving you in-combat attack of 4. This is essentially just giving you in-combat speed up 10, or, like, 7 through 10. I would say that's probably the most reasonable expectation for the stat. It'd just be way better, and the speed creep would just be insane. So, yeah, please don't do that. And then Deflect Melee, Deflect Missile, Deflect Magic, all these Deflect Seals. From the standpoint that Brave attacking is so busted, and there's no real counter to it, these are kind of the counter to Brave attacks right now. From that standpoint, I would kind of be okay with this, but not really. Definitely not as Echo skills, because this is just too strong to get for free. Like, not really for free, but on a passive that you're not really doing too much with outside your main skills. Like, the A, B, and C slot are still your primary skills, and then the seal, whatever that may be. So getting this on an Echo skill would be kind of nutty. So I don't know. I don't think I would want to see this. Although I wouldn't be, like, that upset, because it's still a counter to Brave attacking. So giving defense a little bit more of a push wouldn't be the worst thing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap up now with the final tier here. So we've got Distant Counter and Close Counter. I don't think these would be that offensive, because we got Distant Counter Dragons already as a seal. Although, in that same vein, the Distant Counter A skills are just way better. So, like, Prime 4, Distant Attack Speed Solo, things like that, they're just way better. So I think these would be okay as Echo skills. They wouldn't be, like, that busted, because we have better options, really. Alright, Scowl would be a crazy one, because it's one of the more powerful effects for Dragon types. But then it would also free up their A skill so they could do something else. They don't have to necessarily always run Distant Counter Dragons. So this would be like a buff. This might have been able to fit in with these skills that we were talking about that could buff existing units. But Scowl is just such a powerful effect that this one feels a little more unfair than the other ones to just get out of an Echo skill. We got Hexblade as well. This one would probably just do attack up 7 and then give you the Hexblade status. Like we saw with Attack Oath Echo, they took out one of the stats and took out one of the other effects. So they'd probably cut out the speed and just do attack up 7 and Hexblade, which would be perfectly fine. Mystic Boost would be an interesting one to get the nullification of enemies' adaptive damage with the passive healing. So just getting, like, free healing is really cool. A lot of units that have, like, miracle effects, like Legendary or Brave Seliph, for example, would really enjoy just getting free healing out of nowhere. So this could be pretty nice. It's also hard to justify this as a B skill or a seal, but maybe as an Echo skill, this would be justifiable. So pretty interesting stuff with that one. Pulse Smoke would be able to shut down, like, Special Spiral 4, give us a bit of a counter to that. And this one's got no restrictions other than staffs. So a lot of units would be able to use Pulse Smoke Echo if they decided to do it. How would they nerf this one, though? I'm not too sure about that. Maybe it would do, like, Pulse Smoke 2 instead of Pulse Smoke 3. Whatever the difference is between these. I don't even know what the difference is here. Yeah, what is the difference? If unit initiates combat... Oh, you have to initiate. Okay. This one is just inflicts it after combat, whereas the Level 2 would be you got to initiate combat, which I could see them doing, and that's perfectly fine anyway, because you are going to be initiating combat for the most part if using this skill. And then finally, we got Quicken Pulse and also Infantry Pulse. Just as we brought up Pulse Smoke to deal with Special Spiral 4 and things like that, we brought up the skills that are going to enable those effects even harder. So Infantry Pulse, I think it would be okay. It would probably be Infantry Pulse 2 Echo, like give you got to have 3 more HP than the allies to get the -1, and then you're not getting it to yourself either, only to the allies. And then Quicken Pulse gives it to you, but it's only for 1 turn, and it doesn't do anything else. So, like, these would kind of be balanced. It's not like it would be that outlandish to get these as Echo skills. But the amount of skills and the comps that they would be able to just enable would not be cool. So that's why I've got them over here with these skills. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section. What Echo skills are you looking forward to the most? Which ones are you not looking forward to? This one would be the worst, in my opinion. But that's going to wrap us up for this video, guys. So hope y'all enjoyed it. And this is your boy Tacho signing out. So take care, and I'll catch y'all again on the flip side.